Hello and welcome to this new episode of Open Book Entrepreneur. Today we have Andrea here with us all the way from Spain, calling us from Spain. And so she's just published 2 books, and then on top of that, she's involved in some amazing stuff like Akashic Records. That's really interesting subject. So Andrea, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi there. So I'm Andrea. Great to meet you, Tony. Thank you for the opportunity to chat. So I've made a couple of international moves. I'm originally from London and emigrated to France and then on to Spain. And quite like to be a bit nomadic. And the beauty, as you know, of being a therapist and in the holistic world is that you can take your skill wherever you are. So I've spent some time in the corporate world. I started off with JP Morgan, realized that wasn't really for me long term. So when the opportunity of redundancy came up, I took it and I retrained. So I've done various holistic modalities. I'm a trained aromatherapist, masseuse, life coach, and now specialize in the more energetic field and the Akashic Records.
Wow. Excellent. I mean, just wanted to mention about London. A few of us actually moved away from London, looking for a son. Yeah, I lived in London for about 20 years myself. So yeah, lovely city, lovely place, but definitely, it's nice to move around a little bit as well. So, Andrea, how did you actually end up getting into Akashic Records?
Probably my own journey. I've been through the loss of both my parents to cancer, and that is
Sorry to
quite.
hear that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. It's the story of many. Unfortunately, I don't know anyone that hasn't lost someone that close to that, that particular disease. And I think the reality of then becoming the person that's left, I was the oldest child. And it's like, my goodness, now I've got some responsibility. My parents have gone. It kind of starts to make you grow up very quick. So I wasn't then a parent, but I am now. And the reality of life can be short, we're not infinite. We have a finite time on this planet. So when you've lost people you care about, you start to live with a slightly different attitude. Well, I did. So I want to see stuff. I want to experience stuff, and I want to help others going through this be more aware of that you don't have to carry the pain forever. You can still live and you can let go of the pain that you were in. And it's taken years. It has taken years, but I do kind of advocate that you can carry a lot more emotional burden than you need to for a lot longer than you need to. If you're prepared to feel the depth of pain that we can hold, because pain, as you know, if you get physically hurt, you can see it, you can put a plaster on it, you put a cast on it, and then within 1 or 2 weeks, you take the cast off and you're healed. When you have emotional pain, it isn't quite that simple. It takes sometimes years to actually really deal with what it feels like if you're brave enough to feel it. Because sometimes the depth of pain can be so deep that we avoid feeling it for fear of falling apart. So my work is very much about revealing to people that underneath what you've suffered, there's still you. There's still a strength, there's still courage, and there's still hope for you to have a wonderful life. But we have to let go of the burden of the emotion that you're carrying.
Exactly. And then when it comes to your clients, what sort of problems they're facing before they start working with you? And then how do you apply the Akashic records to all of this?
So primarily people tend to look a little bit deeper when they feel that they've hit a block. So maybe they feel that they're walking through treacle. You're wading through life, but you're not doing it freely. There's something that's heavy, something holding you back from maybe the freedom that you want and that you deserve. So my story was I had something quite big and a challenge to work through, but most people I see are either carrying guilt or blame or shame. And those three things seem to be the underlying emotions. The guilt, especially, I did something wrong and I can't put it right, therefore I've got to carry it for the rest of my life, which it's not true. You don't have to. But unless we address guilt with, head on, people can carry guilt for many, many years. And then likewise, some clients come and they're holding shame. And it might be that they were humiliated at school by a teacher for getting an answer wrong. And that shame of, there's something wrong with me, I got it wrong, can sit with them for years. And therefore they shrink and they're frightened of actually speaking out in case they get it wrong. And then obviously the last one, blame, is when we think you blame yourself for a situation that you can't control because there's pain involved, or we point the finger at somebody else and we blame them for it. And that can keep us trapped in an old story that kind of slows us down from just fully embracing and enjoying our life.
Exactly. And then you mentioned also those couple of books. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so the first book is Permission to Put It Down. And the second one, that is the workbook, is How To. So I'm a big believer, unless we actually acknowledge what we're carrying, we can't work through it. So we have to highlight what it is that we're holding on to and what it is that's the emotional weight before we can go, right, I'm ready to let go of it. Because unless we see our blind spots, we don't know what we're working with. So we can identify our blind spots with the Akashic Records. Once we have those on the table, we know what we're working with. We can then take steps to work through them and release them. So the first book's all about, this is my story. Maybe you recognize yourself in some of these aspects and some of the things that I felt, some of the things I went through. And some of the things when you're dealing with grief are that you tend to retreat from life because you don't want to answer questions. People might be well-meaning and ask you how you are, but you know that you're going to well up if somebody offers you sympathy, and you fear breaking down, so you avoid people. And the reverse of that, obviously, is people can sometimes avoid you because they don't know how to be around you. So it can be really complicated knowing how to work through grief. And equally, not everybody wants to do that in a public arena. Not everybody wants to share their story. So the reason I've written the books is to give people the private space to read about it, identify themselves in it, and then there's a process of, let's start working through this privately, so you don't feel that you have to sit on a chair in front of somebody and pour your heart out if you're not ready to. But those simple steps can then get you to a point where you feel strong enough, because you've identified what you're carrying, to then go and speak to somebody about it.
Exactly. And if people want to actually, find out more about those books or buy them, or how they can do that?
So both of them are listed on Amazon with my name, How to Put It Down, Permission to Put It Down, with Andrea Wilkin. And also on my website, which is my name, andreawilkin.com. I have a book page, and I think it comes under shop, but both books are listed there. And as are all the modalities that I offer and I work with people, I tend to find that with the nature of this work, for me, working one-to-one, and that's how I started my journey. I worked one-to-one with a therapist, and I found that that was more, I had that trust to work and talk to somebody directly rather than in a group environment. But everyone's different. Sometimes people prefer to be in a group, and then it helps to hear other people's stories to give yours some perspective. Personally, I like to work one-to-one.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on top of that, so what's the typical transformation people can expect once they're working with you?
Okay, so a little bit about the Akashic Records. If we imagine that we have an iCloud, you know how like when we go in and store our photos on the computer, they go off to a cloud. So every experience, every emotion, memory, lived memory, good, bad, ugly, gets stored in the Akashic Records, like an energetic reference of everything that we've experienced. So when we go deeper into that energetic field, we can find maybe that there's a pattern that one of our parents held on to, and it might be that their parents instigated it, but through our bloodline, we're holding on to the trauma that was experienced way back in our hereditary or ancestry. So when we can highlight the fact that maybe we're dealing with abandonment or rejection or guilt, it can actually help us to see how we keep playing that out in our own lives. Could be through a workplace, it could be through a relationship, it could be if one of our blocks is lack and limitation, it can be that we have financial problems. keep running into problems with money. So it's about highlighting and revealing the block that people can't see, but they can feel. And once we've got that block to deal with, we take various NLP steps. We work through it with a decree. So we need to rewire the subconscious pattern that is actually running our life and come back to a place of neutral where we make different choices and we start to see the patterns that we've been just automatically living. And it gives us an opportunity to change those patterns with our conscious mind. It's quite powerful.
Totally, totally. Yeah. And so what inspires you about your business?
So I'm a mum. I've got two teenagers. I can see how difficult the world is. The teenagers, especially, are bombarded with so much external pressure. And, you know, we've been teens once. We know how easy it is to get distracted and go off on perhaps a path that isn't right for us, but feels fun. So it's, for me, my driver is to help the future generations to unravel so they stay who they are, they stay true to who they are and what they're here to actually do in the world without being pulled left, right, and center into things that maybe aren't necessary for them to carry. So, for example, the pressure from social media for people to be visible and be seen online looking perfect is huge nowadays. And I think that that's a pressure that teens especially shouldn't be put under. So one of my drivers is to help the younger generation through helping their parents to identify, I don't want to carry all the stuff that my mum had, or I don't want to carry and repeat my dad's story. So if I can help parents, I can help kids. So it's always about looking forward, about the bigger picture.
It stops with me. Yeah, that's basically.
Totally. That is the
Yeah,
bottom line, isn't it? You know that.
exactly. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, I love this, Andrea. Andrea, thank you so much for being a guest today. Thank you for watching, listening to this episode. If you liked it, drop us a like, subscribe, and then yeah, see you all in the next episode. Andrea, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you.